Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Southern Fried Podcast. I'm Rex Nelson, senior editor of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, and here we are in the heart of football season, and I thought it would be a great time to talk about a place where, gosh, I've spent, it seems like, much of my life. The Grand Old Lady War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock. What a historic facility, and really it's never looked better, in my opinion. And I've been going to games there for well over 50 years than it does right now. So an honor to have the manager of War Memorial Stadium, Justin Dorsey, in with us. Justin, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hey, absolutely. Thanks for having me. What an honor to be on, and a great time of year talking about high school football.
Absolutely. We taped this on the first really cool morning, it seems like, of the fall. So it really got me in a football mode, even though we've been hard at it since August. It really feels like football weather now. How long have you been at the stadium now?
I've been there about 3.5 years.
3.5.
Three and a half. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's been.
Tell me a little bit. Of course, the stadium used to be an independent state agency, and a few years ago it was folded into Arkansas State Park. So a little bit about your career, what you were doing before you were at War Memorial Stadium.
Sure, absolutely. So, yeah, the state park system took over War Memorial in about 2017.
17, okay.
17 is when it was, and I started my career with state parks back in like 2002 out at Toltec Mounds, giving tours for school groups. So I have been all over and worked for them for 10, 12 years, kind of all over the state at different parks. The last one I was at Crater of Diamonds. I was the superintendent manager down there for about 4.5 years before we moved back to Central Arkansas, and had kind of got off into law enforcement, working with Benton Police Department, their PIO and community and SRO division, all that. And then the state had an opening back at the stadium since they had taken over it, and still had a lot of connections, and was lucky enough to slide back in and get the opportunity to kind of take the wheel at the stadium and see it grow and move forward.
It's got to be very different, though, being a stadium manager than being a typical state park superintendent. I mean, War Memorial Stadium, we've got, and I'm a huge fan of our state parks, and we've had shows on them, and I've been to all 52, but running War Memorial Stadium has to be a very different thing than Crater of Diamonds near Murfreesboro.
I think the whole agency kind of had that realization that we're part of the park system, but a stadium is nothing like a park. And so we've gone through the growing pains. We've kind of gone through a lot of those things, just figuring it out. And luckily, we've reached out to some other stadiums and things that have been willing to help us and kind of guide us along the do's and don'ts list. But some of it's just been the school of hard knocks,
just learning as you go.
Just learning as you go.
Yeah. What was your biggest surprise, I guess, when you got to the stadium? Were there things where you said, I just didn't expect this, or I just didn't know this was part of it, or I didn't know this was here?
A little bit of it we expected, but I guess just the volume and the scale and the turnaround, man. When football season hit that first time, and you kind of got there and realized that we've got what to do and how many employees do we have to do it. There's 8 of us if we're at full staff there. And, you got a game Thursday, a game Friday, and an event Saturday. And it's just, man, I looked up and that first year was gone. Even through COVID, was tough for us. So really, this is my first year kind of semi back to normal and getting to figure it out.
Yeah. It is a big facility, and there has got to be a lot to do and stuff we never even think about. And I'll give you an example. I was out at a game earlier this fall, and you and I were talking up in the press box, and you talked about all of the work. Now, back when you had natural grass, obviously, I've got a yard. I know about mowing, but I didn't realize all of the work that goes into redoing the turf after every game that basically is like mowing grass. Talk a little bit about that process.
Yeah,
I don't think most people know. I didn't.
So, when I came to the stadium in 19, that's when we were putting the new turf in April of 2019. And that was kind of my initial, I was like, well, this is going to be easy. As long as we don't water it, we won't have to mow it, kind of those type things. And, we learned really quick the amount of sweeping and grooming and brushing, and then having to actually actually decompact. You know, that rubber infill will pack, and to be able to pass your GMAX testing and stuff, which a lot of these schools have requirements on what that can be, and to keep that. Then not to mention the painting. A lot of folks don't realize that all the coaches' boxes, all the logos that are out there are all painted, and those fade and have to retouching that up. So, yeah, sometimes I don't know that mowing it wouldn't be easier.
So how long does that process take generally after a game?
We can easily, if all you have to do is sweep it and brush it and kind of turn it back over and freshen it up, it could probably be done in 3-4 hours of getting it done right. But if there's any painting to do, you know, that's an easy day or two. Wow. Of getting it turned over and kind of touched back up. Again,
one of those things that you just don't think of at all. And it has really been interesting to learn from you about some of the things that we don't realize that go into a game. So, you know, I mentioned at the outset of the show how War Memorial Stadium, and I know it is for many Arkansans, a special place for me, but you know, I may be one of the few. I have played as a high school player on that turf. Obviously, I have sat in the stands for many games. As a newspaper writer, I have written stories from the press box. As a broadcaster, I have broadcast from the press box. So you see what I'm talking about. A lot of my falls out there. I've written from there. I've broadcast from there. I've just watched games from there, and I've played there.
Wow.
Not all at once, but all in one life through the years. So such a special place. And I mentioned, I know before state parks even took over, that when it was independent, leaders like Gary Smith and Kevin Crass on the commission through the years really got money, did some very special things, and I'm honest when I say, you know, the stadium is historic, it's old, but in my mind, if you look at the press box, the facility you've got now, if you look at the video boards, and when I was on ANCRC, got money to redo that so those pictures would be as good as any stadium I've been in the country. I mean, the stadium is looking better, again, in my mind, than it ever has before.
It really has. And, you know, I just want to give a lot of credit to kind of the people that came before me that really laid that groundwork, that didn't just let it fall by the wayside, that understood the importance of it, understood the importance of what it means to have games and to play these games and to keep it up, that have put money and invested in it so that we could do those type things, redoing the press box, the new field, the brand new locker rooms, you know, the complete renovation of the locker rooms, to keep it to where it's a place that's very special. And we'll talk, I think, a little bit later probably about the high school championships, to where, you know, that's a memory that these kids will never forget, of getting to play there. A really interesting story is for the last year, NJCAA, we had a team out of Utah, Snow, had come back and played, and one of those players had
National Junior College,
the junior college,
yes.
One of those players had actually played, and I forget now, the team had actually played high school, his championship game at War Memorial before he'd gone.
Wow.
And so to get to come back, you know, he was the only one. He was kind of the big, really getting to tell people about it, and everybody was just kind of in awe of, it's the biggest stadium that they had played in and things. So
absolutely. In the high school game, let's talk about that now. Obviously, things changed through the years, and one of the things that have changed is, as the University of Arkansas has built up its facilities in Fayetteville, you know, you don't see the 3. There were sometimes 4 games when I was a kid in Little Rock a year, which I think makes the high school game even more important there. And one thing I have been happy to see as an Arkansan, Justin, is a lot of what I consider War Memorial sister stadiums kind of fell on hard times. I mean, I look at Legion Field in Birmingham, which used to have across the upper deck football capital of the South, and where the SEC championship, when they started it, was first played, and it got in such bad shape that they ended up taking the upper deck off completely when Auburn quit playing some of their games there. I look at Mississippi Memorial Stadium and the shape it got in Jackson after Mississippi State and Ole Miss quit playing some games there. And what happened in Birmingham, what happened in Jackson could have easily happened in Little Rock, but it did not.
It didn't, and we're very fortunate. And I think a lot of that is to the leadership kind of this before that really took that as an opportunity to grow and showcase the stadium to some of these high school games, high school playoffs. And then here recently, I know you've seen we've had a lot of other Division II and III colleges come and play games.
Yeah, I want to talk about that in a minute. Let's talk about high school first, though. Little Rock Catholic has long called the stadium home. And then a few years ago, Parkview decided we're going to start playing our home games there. So because of that, and both programs are doing well. Both are, I have them ranked. I do rankings every week. I have both Parkview and Catholic ranked statewide now. So you've got a game between those two teams now virtually every Friday night. And some weeks you have a Thursday night followed by a Friday night game, right?
Exactly. If it's their home week, they work together really, really well to where if both are home, we'll do a Thursday and a Friday. And the season's looking really good. I mean, Parkview's only lost 2. They're 5-2, and both of those losses have come to 7A teams.
Right.
They're really good. And Catholic, 7-0. So, the picture with 3 games left, kind of looking at that schedule, we're slotting and expecting a really busy November, hoping for some playoff games and a chance to really keep that football here in Central Arkansas rolling right up to the title games.
Absolutely. It is a great atmosphere there for those games. The great thing I love about War Memorial is for a high school game, there's so much parking and it's so easy. You just park in that east lot and go from there. Although I hear Catholic had such a great crowd for its homecoming game, they filled the east lot.
They did. It filled up. It was the biggest high school game since Salt Bowl at the stadium. It was, and you looked out at the tailgating out on the north grass, and you'd have thought it was a Razorback game. People just tailgating and really enjoying the atmosphere and kind of the whole festivities, which has become kind of what we're famous for. With
Absolutely.
Hendricks, these other teams, really don't miss an opportunity to make it special.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the Salt Bowl. While we're on high school, of course, you kick the season off every year with that. And my friend Shane Broadway and the other folks down in Saline County do such a great job with that. And that game annually attracts close to 30,000 people. It's by far the biggest high school attendance of any game in the state every year.
Yes, sir, absolutely. We flirted with 30,000 again this year, coming out of COVID. It's just so well received, and it's just become a staple, even though here lately the games haven't been as close, but it's a lot more than that to the folks in Saline County.
Absolutely. And then you mentioned the title games, and I always set aside my first 2 weekends in December, and I try to go to all of them, mainly because during the regular season, in the first 2 weeks of the playoffs, I'm in a studio for 13 consecutive weeks doing a high school scoreboard show, so I can't actually be out at stadiums. So that's my chance to actually see a lot of high school football and try to be in the stands for all of those games. But we've added the 8-man game now, so you're going to have 7 championship games this year. That first week you'll have the 8-man game on a Thursday, I believe, 2 games on a Friday and 2 games on a Saturday, and then you come back with 2 more games the following week.
Yes, sir. Yeah, do it 2 weekends in a row. And I tell you what, if you haven't been out and seen an 8-man game, we were not really knowing what to expect. And I was Mountain Pine and Strong, I believe, last year. And, man, they showed up. The town showed up, and it was a really interesting game to watch. But it is a busy time for us. We talked a little bit earlier about turning the field over and getting stuff ready. It's a whirlwind weekend, but a lot of great football.
Always is. But, again, one of the things that, as a high school football fan, I live for, and I know I'm not the only one that goes to all of them. I know other people that do so, and War Memorial Stadium really has become the home for high school football in Arkansas. That's not to say that it's not still a home for college football. This is one of those falls when there's no Razorback games, but we will have a Razorback game in each of the next 3 seasons.
Next 3 years, yes, sir.
And I know the commission's probably already working on this. There are high-level talks above all of our heads going on, but I'm one of those, Justin, that feels strongly that that is such a part. And I know you see about 54 as compared to 75 in Fayetteville. I understand that. But I think the Board of Trustees at the University of Arkansas, and I've written this, so I don't mind saying it, I think the Board of Trustees at the University of Arkansas have to realize that Little Rock game is such a part of the tradition, and it opens up the chance to expose kids, young fans, others in South Arkansas and East Arkansas who might never otherwise see a game. Man, I hope after these next 3 years that we get a new long-term contract, because I think it's important to the state. It's such a part of the culture of the state, the history of the state, that we continue to see at least one Razorback game at War Memorial Stadium every year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's for sure what we're, because we know for a fact we get that kind of feedback and know from fans that the Little Rock game's the only game they make it to every year, and we know this and want to be able to continue that. And the other thing that we're just so excited about is this past year hosting UAPB with the in-state rivalries, and I think that the door to that, and then with hosting Arkansas State in 2025.
That could be incredible.
That may be the largest game. There may be as many outside as in. That'll probably be the largest attended game is what we're forecasting, just based on now. We're having people calling wanting tickets now.
Well, next year you have actually got the season opener, and there's always excitement that surrounds a season opener. So I think that works out very well, and I've actually talked to some people. I hope the Little Rock Convention and Visitors Bureau, others get involved, because it's Labor Day weekend, and boy, I would love to see Little Rock build a whole festival around that season opening game next year.
No, absolutely, and I think there's already been talks about it. We've tried in the past to kind of have a fan fest area, and weather hasn't really been cooperating as much in years past, just with the later games and things like that. So we're really hoping with this early season opening game, really to kick it off, just with the excitement that we can put something really nice together for fans.
Absolutely. I mean, that could be a big deal. Like you said, I think it's Western Carolina is the opener next year.
Yes.
Is that right? And that's the season opener, so you can build something around that. Then you go back to the in-state rivalries with UAPB again, and then, of course, Arkansas State.
Which is also a season opener. All three of the next games are it'll be the Labor Day weekend for Western Carolina, and then August 31st and 24th for UAPB, and then September 6th for Arkansas State. So they're all beginning of season, that first kind of go at it.
That is exciting. That is really exciting for the stadium. And again, you'll see more columns from me, because I think it is so important that we keep that tradition going on. We'll be back with more of the Southern Fried Podcast, but first, this break. Hi, Rex Nelson here. Thanks for listening so far. A lot of the topics we cover here on the Southern Fried Podcast and many more can be found on the pages of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. If you'd like to support this great newspaper's commitment to bringing you the latest in Arkansas news, sports, and entertainment, consider subscribing to the Democrat-Gazette today. With your subscription, you'll get a digital edition of the newspaper every morning, along with the latest news and updates delivered to you on an iPad, provided at no extra cost. For just $34 a month, you'll get the same award-winning journalism you've come to expect from the Democrat-Gazette, including my 3 weekly columns, plus exclusive photo galleries, videos, articles, and digital extras, all in the palm of your hand. To sign up today, call 1-800-482-1121 or visit us online at arkansasonline.com/subscribe. Welcome back to the Southern Fried Podcast, a production of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. You do a lot of other events out at the stadium. I'll stick to football for a minute, then I want to get to some of the other things. You mentioned Hendricks playing a game there. They're NCAA Division III now. You even had a couple of other Division III games earlier this year, both from out of state, that decided to kind of meet halfway in between their schools, right, and play at War Memorial.
Yes, sir. We've just kind of got, Hendricks is playing Rhodes, and that's kind of how we got the connection with McMurray playing Birmingham Southern this year, and that'll be a 2-year deal with them. So they'll come back next year and do the same thing. And we're trying to get word out to these other schools that are in very similar situations with these teams that have to do a lot of traveling and meeting, and just that experience too. I mean, we try to make it very, very memorable for these teams, and got a lot of great feedback from McMurray and from Birmingham Southern. Just excited to play, and the history around it that they got to kind of see and showcase that a little bit. So that's something we're definitely continuing to do is keep our feelers out and wanting to host and kind of get more into that market to where we're a destination place to play and a very special place for these teams from other conferences.
So you really actively recruit in that sense. You're letting other schools know we're available if you want to play here.
Yes, sir, absolutely, especially for title games or championship games or larger games, just for the tailgating atmosphere and kind of everything that we've known about War Memorial from a Razorback standpoint of what makes it so great, to offer that to some other Division II and Division III schools to maybe come and play bigger or more memorable, sentimental games with their opponents here.
How did that National Junior College Championship game get here? I know you've hosted it a couple of times already.
This year. We're wrapping up a 3-year agreement with them. It will probably be renewed. I think it's nothing but good things with that. It brings attention here to Central Arkansas and Little Rock. But that was a thing that they were looking for places to play, and because of geographically where we are, we were contacted by them and were able to work out a deal with them and the Little Rock Convention Centers Bureau to put together a package. To bring them.
The strongest junior college football programs and where you've got the most junior college football really is, when you think about it geographically, it's like Texas and New Mexico, but then also Kansas and so Mississippi and Arkansas is kind of right in the middle of those states.
Yeah, that was the thinking, and it just worked out. And the last couple of years that it's been here, it's been very well attended. You know, it's nationally televised, so I mean, a lot of those viewers are watching on their TVs. But we did have a pretty good turnout in person, which was really neat for us to get to showcase the city of Little Rock and kind of what we had to offer, and the teams left very happy.
And again, being nationally televised, a really good chance to showcase the city of Little Rock with CBS Sports Network doing that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's really what, in our opinion, it's about. It's not, may not have as many fans in the stadium, but for future development of the stadium, really with what we've got and what we in Arkansas know, the history and how proud we are of the facility and how good it looks, anytime we can get a chance to put that out there on a national level and showcase that, will just help for future development and future plans that we have.
Let's talk about other events that you host. I know you have everything from marching contests that are big when bands come from all over the state to hosting soccer. Talk about some of the other things that go on during the rest of the year.
The rest of the
Memorial Stadium, yeah.
That's kind of one of those things going back to
we've been talking about football
what
so far.
Surprised me when I got there is
it's a 12-month facility.
Is that really kind of blew me away with how many other type events and things we do. Soccer. What really amazed me is the amount of nonprofit walks and rentals for ALS, Parkinson's. I mean, like there's a lot. In the spring, almost every Saturday's got some type of nonprofit walk for the cure. There's a lot of those type of events that go on.
So to clear this up, you don't get to go home at Christmas and come back about the 1st of August to start getting ready for football season.
No, absolutely. We get about January to kind of catch our breath. That's when we work on like budgets and cleaning stuff and like doing some in-house stuff. And then into February, we've got graduations. We've done the last couple years. That's been huge. The entire month of May has been swamped with that, and it looks like this next year we're going to be the same way. I think we're already at 10 graduations scheduled, and a couple more schools looking at it. In 2020 with COVID, we had 13, a couple college graduations, and a lot of high school. So I mean, it's busy with a lot of other things going on, which is kind of neat. We've had everything from dog shows, police canine trial dog shows that was nationally televised. That was really interesting to see, and we were really glad to host that. But it's a variety.
Going back to the facility itself, when the new press box was built, and I talked about the decline of stadiums in places like Birmingham and Jackson, Mississippi, when the new press box was built, I think that was a sign from the state that we intend for War Memorial Stadium to be here for many decades to come. This is a long-term investment because I still dabble in sports a lot. I'm a general columnist, but I dabble in sports a lot, and I've been in a lot of press box around the country, and it really is, and you've kept it up in its early years as nice as about any box in the country that I've been in.
Yes, sir, absolutely, and we try. That's kind of our goal is when we host these schools, and whether it be college or high school, that's what makes it special. It's not just a game that you have to go on the road and go play. I mean, when you get to use the facility from the locker rooms to the press box, we want the media, we want people to leave with that impression of, I've played somewhere great. I've played at a historic place, but it's still as state of the art as it can be.
And speaking of that history, one thing I've been glad to see, because not only the Razorback history, but the high school history, and then other events from Billy Graham Crusades to the state celebrating its sesquicentennial, on and on. When that new press box was built, that history was made a part of the walls. And I'm an Arkansas history nut, so I was happy to see that. But boy, you go on the 3 floors of that press box and look at the walls. There's a lot of history there you can see.
There is, and kind of when you get to go around, whether it be in the stadium office or the press box, we also have some exhibit panels up around Gate 1 that really talk about why the stadium was built in the first place. The War Memorial was built as a tribute to the men and women from Arkansas that had fought in World War I and II. But since then, I've been really pleased to see it's kind of been adopted to all Arkansans that have served in the military from its building up till now.
And it's one thing we tend to forget is, and I have explained this to people, some of these hardcore Northwest Arkansas Razorback fans tear the thing down, whatever. This is our state's largest war memorial, in essence. No different than a statue would be, than a monument would be. The whole stadium is a veterans memorial.
Absolutely, and we try to really showcase that as much as possible. Anytime we're planning, and Salt Bowl's good with it, but whether it be a regular high school football game or any event that we have, we really try to promote that with tying in that aspect, whether it be the colors, or I know this year was with Salt Bowl, actually the last couple years, they've actually had swearing-in ceremonies as part of the opening ceremonies for the sporting event, or trying to make that connection to honor someone, a service member, or something for something that's gone on, but trying to connect to those veterans groups and honor them as much as we can with each event.
Before we wrap up, I do want to mention, because we were talking about big events, but I was talking about that nice press box. You can do everything from smaller meetings to it holds larger receptions. I mean, you rent that press box out year-round as an event facility. Is that
Absolutely.
Not correct?
Yes, sir. And we have everything from wedding rehearsal dinners to business meetings. Company, if they want to come out and host a luncheon or something for their employees and put games on TV, just kind of overlooking the field. That's becoming really popular right now.
Now that's great to hear, and I know the dressing rooms can be used and so forth. I know you've done a lot of even birthday parties through the years.
That kind of surprised me too with how much that goes on. I thought, man, where was that when I was a kid?
Yeah.
To get to have cake and ice cream in the locker room and go run around, play on the field for a couple hours is just pretty neat. Neat.
So if somebody wants to do a business meeting or a birthday party or whatever, they just need to contact the stadium office.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Work on a date.
Just call us at the stadium office. We can work through that with you.
That's great to know. So tell me something I might not know about War Memorial Stadium. I mean, is there what again, I asked earlier what surprised you, but some piece of equipment, some nook, some cranny that I'm not aware of that exists out there?
I've been there 3.5 years, and I find a random closet or back passageway with storage stuff in it. It seems like almost weekly that I didn't know that was there. We had to call Charlie Staggs, one of the past managers, because we couldn't figure out how to shut water off. And it was one of those where you go in this women's bathroom and get up in the stall and remove the third ceiling tile, and there's a valve that was, so she's a grand old lady that's got a lot of secrets, and we're still finding them.
Finding them as you go.
Every day, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you and your staff do a great job. I remember I laughed the first year after State Parks had taken the stadium over, and I was out there in August, and somebody used the line on me, if it's not moving, they're power washing it right now. So,
yes.
I think back to a line I used. I'm on the board of the Arkansas Travelers, and we're kind of in the entertainment business like you are there, and I told our CEO at one meeting, I said, I'm a columnist, so I simplify things because we've only got so much space in the paper, and so I have to simplify things. But I have to say, in this day and time, coming out of COVID, I said, I think our job is to simplify it, a place that's fun, a place that's safe, and a place that's clean. And I see you follow that same philosophy at War Memorial. You make sure it's fun, safety's more important than ever, and cleanliness is coming out of the pandemic more important than ever.
Absolutely. And we've got a great maintenance crew. John Latch, the assistant stadium director, does a great job with maintenance and keeping it clean. And just some TLC, some paint, power washing, as you said. Boy, that was big. But just taking care of her.
And talk about the security upgrades that you did. What do we see now for a football game, for instance, that we wouldn't have seen 5-10 years ago?
Well, some of it's just kind of the world we live in, and it's not just us, but stadiums and football facilities, using the metal detectors and things like that. But we've also really stepped up when we did the upgrades as part of the Razorback contract, and we've got, state-of-the-art camera security system, a new incident command center for emergency response, and then just a lot of our plans as far as staffing that with security and just kind of a lot of those internal plans, just making sure that things are covered. We've had incidents in the past, not just at War Memorial, but looking nationwide and around the world at these large sporting events. And so I think the whole market of sporting event managers has changed in how we look at that and how we staff and secure those facilities.
Mm-hmm. And you've got to have a good working relationship, I would think, especially for your big events with Little Rock Police Department and other law enforcement agencies, and I know you work closely with all of them.
Absolutely. Little Rock Police Department, Pulaski County, State Police, UAMS, there's a lot of players. Little Rock Fire. When we have larger events like Salt Bowl, our emergency services section, Chad Fusheris, our chief ranger, and Ed Thomas do a fantastic job of coordinating with sometimes 20 and 30 other agencies to run those big events.
And being part of the state park system now, I know just on a one-day basis, you don't want to pull them away from their parks too much. But, of course, you've got trained law enforcement officers as park rangers all over the state. You can call on them now,
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. And that's one of the great things I think about that move and placement is just the pool of resources. Again, we don't want to take away from our state parks, but just the pool of knowledge, the pool of manpower and equipment that we can use has just tremendously grown since 2017 when parks took over.
Yeah, so if it's a big event and you say, for instance, I need 10 park rangers, that's something you can do now.
Yes, sir.
In.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is nice to hear. All right, I knew it would go fast, Justin. We've about run out of time. Where do you see the stadium going in the future? Where do you see as possible upgrades, new events, 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
Well, one thing we're fixing to start. It'll probably have to wait till after the championship games, but we're fixing to remove all the bleachers and seating and do a complete water coating and painting of the entire bowl. There's going to be some of that and a lot of painting of the metal structures in the end zone. So you'll be able to notice that a lot by next year. That'll be all in place. So we'll take care of that. We're also working on hopefully getting another concert in the next year or two. Talks on that. So just more of the same, hopefully.
Yeah, and I know kind of the era, because weather's such a factor in all of the big outdoor stadium concerts, is not what it once was. You don't have as many of those as you once did. But again, that's something you still are actively recruiting.
Absolutely. It's coming out of COVID. Things are kind of getting, I had to go through a learning curve. So we weren't able to get one the last couple of years. I think 2017 was the last big concert we had. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot that goes into that on a field with covering it because you don't want to damage your field. So there's a lot of pieces, and I feel like we're at a place now to where that could possibly happen again, and we look for it to happen hopefully pretty soon.
Boy, a lot of football still left, so get out to War Memorial Stadium. We've still got Parkview games. We've got Catholic games. We'll have 7 state championship games. We'll have the National Junior College Championship. A lot of football still left.
A lot of
this
football,
year.
Yes, sir. Come out and see a game.
All right, good luck. Justin Dorsey, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Our War Memorial Stadium manager, truly an Arkansas classic. I'm Rex Nelson. Thank you for joining us for another edition of the Southern Fried Podcast, a production of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette.